There's a beauty company that's doing really well financially, but even though it's doing so well, investors aren't happy. So what's going on? Something really big happened recently in the beauty space that's gone unnoticed to people who don't work in the industry. Before I tell you what it is, let's backtrack a little bit. This summer, e.l.f. acquired a beauty company called Rhode by Hailey Bieber for $1 billion. When that happened, it seemed like everybody had something to say about it, some good and some bad.
Breaking beauty news, and that is that e.l.f. Beauty has bought Hailey Bieber's Rhode for $1 billion.
Hailey Bieber just sold Rhode to e.l.f. for $1 billion, and the internet is spiraling. People are saying things like, this is the end of Rhode as we know it.
A lot of people, myself included, thought it was insane that e.l.f. Beauty spent $1 billion on Rhode.
Let me know in the comments if you were on the side of saying good things or not so good things, or if you were kind of indifferent and you were like, I don't care. When e.l.f. bought Rhode, there were many questions about whether this would be a success or if it would eventually flop and die down like Kylie Cosmetics did. In fact, I did a whole video about that question specifically, in which I spoke to beauty industry experts who gave me their insight on what they think will happen. Some of you have asked me why I've made 2 videos on Rhode by now and none about Rare. And the truth is, Rare is a private company, so it's hard to dig into the data around that company versus a company like Rhode. But when I do get access to data around Rare, I will be telling the story about it. I'm not doing this because I'm favoring one celebrity over another. You will not find any celebrity gossip or rivalry on my channel. The big news that we're covering in this video is that question around, will Rhode flop? Is this just a bunch of PR that we're getting sucked into? Or does the company have financial cachet that sets it apart from other beauty companies on the market? We finally have some data to answer that. Rhode's company details and finances are finally available to us, both because e.l.f. recently did a call with investors to sort of outline how that acquisition's been going for them, and also because e.l.f. released some documents about Rhode. I went through them and I kind of got excited by the numbers, and as someone who nerds out about numbers and data and the stories that they can tell us, I thought I have to make a video about this and tell people. The data tells us a lot, from what the company is doing well to what makes it stand out, possible risks that the company faces going forward. So I went through this massive document, picking out the parts that matter so that you don't have to. So let's figure out what's going on, using research, analysis, and you guessed it, data. If you're new here, welcome to The Devil Wears Data. This is your seat inside Fashion and Beauty's boardroom. I spent years on Wall Street covering finance and the stock market, and on this channel I tell stories about the business, finance, economics of beauty and fashion as someone who is very, very curious about those industries. Anyway, if you like those kind of stories, hit subscribe so we don't lose touch. And give this video a quick like and a hype because it really helps support small channels like mine. Let's start with the data so we can figure out what's going on. When we dig into the numbers, there's one thing that becomes clear, which is that Rhode is doing unusually well compared to other beauty companies. Rhode spent about 11% of sales on marketing. This is below what's typical for the industry, which is around 20 to 40%. Those are the figures that I found on e.l.f. Beauty's own spending was 25% last year. So Rhode has spent a lot less on marketing than e.l.f. itself. And part of the reason, I would say this is because Hailey is such a popular figure and her marketing was kind of built into her image. This is why investors love investing in celebrity beauty brands, although this isn't always the case. I have a whole video on the unique struggles celebrity beauty brands go through, so it's not always a guarantee that a celebrity will do well in terms of selling product. Rhode's EBITDA margin landed at 34%, which is well above the industry's 15 to 30%. In simple terms, this means that for every $100 in sales, they keep $34, which shows that Rhode is running efficient in comparison to e.l.f. Beauty's EBITDA margin, which is in the mid-teens. Beauty companies this year are averaging at around 18%. So again, Rhode's 34% is really, really good. Now, as someone who buys beauty products, I always find this next figure to be quite interesting. The cost of goods sold, which is how much it costs to make the product, like the ingredients, or the packaging, and Rhode's is 19%. This means Rhode's products are cheap to produce but sell at premium prices. Now, if we're talking about luxury, like very, very expensive stuff on the market, this number can obviously get higher. But right now, for what Rhode is, it's a big win for the company. And if you're someone that invests in beauty companies, this might really excite you. But if you're someone that buys beauty products, I want to know what you think about that number specifically. Now, when you hear all this, you might think investors are really excited. I mean, the company is showing good numbers, especially when you compare it to the industry standard, and even when you compare it to its parent company, e.l.f. But e.l.f.'s stock price actually went down on this news. That means that people pulled their money out of the company. Typically, you'd see a chart going upwards, not downwards. So the surprising thing is that when this filing came out and all of those numbers became clear, instead of investors getting excited about e.l.f., the opposite happened and the stock price declined. So what did happen. If you've made it this far into the video, you might enjoy my Patreon community. That's where I put up all my uploads early, ad-free, including exclusive content, and I get to connect with people on a deeper level there, so I will link it in the show notes or the bio of this video. Rhode's financial statement shows us that marketing expenses as a percentage of revenue are around 11%, and the company revenue was around $188.7 million. So we have the figures we need to calculate something called the marketing efficiency ratio. This ratio tells us how much Rhode earns back for every dollar spent on marketing. Most brands are happy to have somewhere around like a 5. Rhode's marketing efficiency ratio, using our little calculation, rounds out to be about a 9, which means that for every dollar that Rhode spends on marketing, it earns back $9. That's really good. In fact, it's so good that I fact-checked this calculation multiple times just to make sure that I was getting the number right, but I did get around 9.09. But the fear that investors have is that this popularity and this hype is subject to Hailey's popularity and hype. If there's some kind of PR nightmare, or she just kind of falls off from popularity, or maybe her husband, Justin Bieber, does something and it negatively impacts her image, it could have some impact on the brand. So it is a bit challenging to invest in celebrity-backed beauty brands for that reason. When Rhode entered Sephora this fall, it made around $10 million in just 2 days. It made history with that Sephora debut. In fact, Rhode had the biggest launch in Sephora North America's history, exceeding the previous record by 2.5 times, and that was shared directly by the e.l.f. executive team. But after that, the sales of the company did dip a little to $40 million from $48 million the year before. Now, the slowdown could be temporary because the company did pause on launching new products while they were focusing on launching in Sephora. But that dip in sales also made investors panic and sort of question how sustainable and long-term this company can really be. I was listening to the call that e.l.f. made just a few days ago, and this is what they were saying to investors of the company.
We continue to grow our audience beyond Gen Z. Our latest awareness and usage study shows e.l.f. purchasers growing substantially amongst millennials and Gen X. We're also the most purchased brand among Gen Alpha, showing our multi-generational appeal. Today, e.l.f. Cosmetics is purchased by approximately 1 in 3 females in the US.
I'm not going to get too much into the technical financial detail of the call, like what investors were expecting and what e.l.f. presented to them, but I'll tell you what the bigger picture is and what the takeaway should be from this video. Rhode is kind of a marketing miracle. There are low-cost ads and high profit and a very loyal fan base. This is something I smelled a mile away. Even before Rhode got acquired by e.l.f., I made a video on my channel almost a year before that acquisition happened, stating that, this is going to be a billion-dollar company, and I kind of went into an analysis of all the numbers behind it. And investors love this kind of thing, but it also scares them. Personality-driven businesses are quite finicky, and if Hailey's star dims or something goes wrong in her appeal, then the numbers could start to suffer too. If you made it this far into the video, leave me a heart emoji in the comments because I love to know who makes it to the end of the video. This isn't as long as some of my other videos on my channel, but I really, really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you again real soon.